There it is there.
That's right, the original.
And that was mine. That's what I used.
Well, there you are. Look at this.
That's what I used.
Yes. And of course, you went to the blowhole.
Yeah. So well, that was the blowhole was our first point of contact, and that's where we set up a base camp.
Wonderful.
And then from there we left a lot of gear, and then we went overland to the Kookaburra. So the Kookaburra is here.
Yep.
So you actually drove past it.
We did.
And then
yeah, can you imagine? This is the last search we did.
Yeah.
And this is where we were searching.
Yeah.
And we just about ran out of fuel and water. And that's when I said, jump up, and I went north, and look how far north it was.
Yeah.
And the other groups who have searched for it, they'd searched in this area.
Yeah.
But what people didn't realise is the wheel slip between the blowhole and the actual Kookaburra was quite a lot on that old truck.
Yeah.
And it ended up with so much wheel slip that we had the mileage reading.
Yeah.
But of course we had to allow more for wheel slip than anyone thought. So it hadn't gone as far as people thought it had. That was a Thornycroft 6-wheel truck. It
I know, I saw that on the second
drive
expedition,
at the back.
yeah.
Absolutely.
It says here, helicopter damaged.
Oh.
What did you do there?
Oh yeah, we wrecked the helicopter. Now, really sad. We were using a big aluminium marker pole with a flag on it.
Yeah.
And what we'd do is we'd drop someone off, and then the helicopter would fly about 10k away, and then they'd look for the marker pole. Unfortunately, one of the blokes, when he was getting back onto the helicopter, he stuck the marker pole up into the helicopter blades. He was lucky to live, because luckily it grabbed hold of the marker blades and threw it up the pole and threw it out into the desert somewhere, but it damaged the blade. So everyone then had to walk in. This is about 10k out, and they eventually all got themselves safely to the road that we graded in, and all turned up. And so, can you imagine, we'd gone to look for a lost aircraft and we ended up losing a helicopter.
Yeah. So in the end, is that why you called the search off? Is that what?
That was the reason we wrecked the helicopter. And John Weymouth, the helimaster who owned the chopper, he then had to get new blades, and they had a huge job to fly in and replace the blades and then fly the helicopter out. Quite amazing.
Wow.
Is this your one, is it?
Yeah, that was my one. Yeah, that was the photo. I worked off that.
Ah.
Like literally, I'm walking around.
Gee, I look a little bit younger in those days. They were the famous, of course, Dick Smith glasses. I think you'll probably find them somewhere here, the old Dick Smith black glasses.
Yeah.
And by the way, now look at this. Here is a letter. If you remember, the man who found the Kookaburra was Lester Brain. He was the Qantas pilot who found, and I'm pretty sure this is from Double Bay, 15th of June, 1979.
Yeah.
We'll just have a look at the end here, all handwritten. Lester Brain, yours sincerely. This is an original letter. This is incredibly valuable. So
the actual original,
yeah, it's his original handwritten letter.
Wow.
Dear Dick, the saga of your successful search to relocate the 50-year-old remnants of the Kookaburra is far the finest thing that has come out of the many searches and written attempts to glamorise the deceased aviators as altruistic heroes, simply because they killed themselves. Now, Lester was pretty negative about Anderson Hitchcock because he thought they were foolish. Because instead of Anderson and Hitchcock flying up the overland telegraph line and being, if they had an engine failure, they could land and cut the line, they took the risk of crossing the Tanami Desert. And of course, when they had the engine problem, they did quite a safe forced landing, but they couldn't get airborne again.
Were they en route to Wave Hill?
They were heading to Wave Hill. They didn't exactly know where Wave Hill was because no GPS in those days, and they were using the sun mainly. And at that time of the year, the sun is almost vertically above you. So around about 12 noon, it was almost useless. Their compass never worked from when they left Sydney. So here they are flying this tiny little fabric and wood plane out there, and they only had, I think it was 2 pints of water. So what they did was, it didn't need to be that risky. He could have just been a bit more conservative.
Because it was 38 kilometres, roughly, it was about 38 kilometres from the corner post of the Wave Hill station.
To where the plane was.
Well, they could have, you know what I mean? Another 30 odd kilometres, they could have landed the plane on a piece of a graded road, possibly.
They could have lived well. I bet there's so many stories around like that. So, that's the 2 boxes of research material I used at the time to do the research for the Kookaburra book, and quite amazing stuff. Oh, look at these old photographs. That's how I looked at the time, by the way. So we had the Dick Smith Kookaburra expedition, and I must have been...
1977.
Yeah, so I would have been in my 30s and just getting the business Dick Smith Electronics going. And that was our, now that would have been, I think, the second group that we went up there, all of the people searching. This is the time we failed.
Because you took unimogs in there as well. You
Yep.
had like was it two or one? Or
One big unimog.
one, yeah.
Mercedes, it was one of the first unimogs in Australia.
Yeah.
And so we took it there, Mercedes-Benz loaned it to us. Of course, unimog is not quite the vehicle to drive from Sydney to Wave Hill Station.
No.
It took weeks to get there. And in those days, they only went really slow.
Yeah.
But it was really good for that last 4
How did it go when you went overland? How did it go with that turpentine
It didn't
scrub?
go very well at all. It really, the unimog's not the type. In those days, I think we got lots and lots of punctures, as you know, that turpentine
Yeah,
scrub.
it's unbelievable.
Did you get many punctures?
We put in over 300 plugs, so
Wow.
punctures. So we quad bike caught fire.
Yep.
We tore fuel lines off.
Yes.
And yeah, over 300
Look,
punctures.
This four-wheel drive stuff, you need to get a helicopter. Because when I went in there, we didn't have one puncture. Anyway, look, congratulations for being the first people back there, not by four-wheel drive, by anything.
Yeah,
no
by
one
anything.
has ever been back to Anderson Corner. And you're actually the first people who have located the real location of Anderson's Corner, because it never really was exactly where we thought it was. And now with modern GPS, of course, the position will be within 10 metres or so.
Yeah, no, I'm stoked. I'm glad you let us go on this expedition, this adventure.
Well, I love your enthusiasm. I watched the show and I thought, if anyone's going to find it, you blokes are going to be able to find it. And that's why I released all the secret information.
Thank you.
If you hadn't had that secret information,
no.
you'd be miles away.
I wouldn't even be close. Yeah, I wouldn't be close. No, that's awesome. I'm so happy, and mate, I'm glad to be a part of something.